Okay, so this one looks a real cracker. We've got Lady Aurelia, who won the King's Stand in emphatic fashion, taking on Batash, who I absolutely loved at Goodwood. I thought he was awesome. Tom, I know that you're, again, having reservations about Lady Aurelia at York, but you don't want Batash either, do you?
Well, it sounds like I don't like either of them. I love both of them. I just think that, but my job is to find a horse to bet on, and I don't bet at short prices at York. I never have done, and I never will, because I just think we've been through this race time and time again. We've had 100-to-1 winners of this race. We had a horse that none of you have probably ever heard of, Jawala, win this race at 50-to-1. We've had lots and lots of surprises. Now, let's be honest, they weren't taking on horses of the caliber of Lady Aurelia and Batash. And to sit here and say I'm expecting neither of them to win is ridiculous, because they can run faster than the other ones. But it's just a betting thing for me, and I wouldn't back either of them. First of all, I don't know which one's going to win, so why would I back one at 5-4 or 13-8? I'd prefer to look at something each way to run in the frame. You never know. There can be upsets at York. I think there's a few in there. I think Marsha's better than she's shown. I think York might suit her. I think there's a couple that have course form.
You mentioned Marsha. Sorry, just to interrupt. I was having a look at this race the other day, and fillies and mares have an absolutely fantastic recent record. You mentioned Jawala. We had Hortensia. The mare came over to win it.
Yeah, Margot was a massive prize,
Mecca's
wasn't she?
Angel.
Mecca's Angel, you're right.
So Marsha could be one.
Yeah, 5 of the last 6 are mares. She could easily be the one. I think there's those handicappers that run well at the track. Duke of Firenze, Final Venture. Now they haven't got the form, but they like York. And if you look at the figures, those sort of horses aren't miles behind. They're 10 or so pounds behind the top ones. But this is York we're talking about, and they're 5-4 and 13-8. I'd prefer to have a look at something at a big price.
Was it? It was Duke of Firenze you liked, wasn't it? About 100-1.
I just thought he's a York specialist. Didn't run very well last time in the Stewards Cup, but he loves York. He's from the David Griffiths yard that's had Take Cover run well, been placed in this race. Now look, Take Cover might be better than him, but I just thought he's a finisher that might sort of be kept out of the fire and sort of grab a place late on, sort of sneak a place. So that's the sort of horse I'll be looking at. But I'm fully expecting one of the favourites to win. It's just I don't know which one and the short prices.
No, but we like these angles. We like the bigger prices. Binners, how do we bet?
Well, it's 6-4 Lady Aurelia, 7-4 Batash. Is it a 2-horse race, Maddie? Then it's 8-1 Marsha, 12 Profitable, Take Cover and Washington DC on 16s.
Okay, and what price have you got Duke of Firenze at?
66-1 for Tom Segel.
Probably won't be for Tom Segel.
There we go. Mark, what do you reckon?
Tom's been peeking at my notes.
Uh-oh.
Just to verify, there it is from yesterday. Duke of Firenze. It's a coin toss for me between the first two. If you put a gun to my head and made me pick one or the other, I'd probably go for Lady Aurelia. But I was at Sandown to see Batash and last time the other time and was equally blown away by what he was able to do. So one of them could win, and it would be great if one of them could put in a really good performance. It'd be lovely if they both ran their race and we got a real treat like that. But Duke of Firenze, I just thought there are probably some of the more the classier, if you like, horses that are going to race against Lady Aurelia and Batash, whereas Duke of Firenze will probably just do his own thing and come through as he does and perhaps pick up some pieces. Just before we come on, actually, I've spoken to, I'm writing a piece for the paper tomorrow, but spoke to David Griffiths.
Shameless plug there.
And he did nothing to put me off. He said, obviously, it's a massive step up in class, and if he finished in the first 6, they'd be thrilled. But, he said he thinks he's capable of running a very big race, and he's a horse that's done me a few favours in the past, so I'm happy to give him another go.
Why not? Yeah, I think this has been the plan for quite a while.
Yeah, well, he won at York, and then he went up to 109, I think, after the dash. I think he went up around there, and so you get to a point where you've got to find something. But he won at York earlier in the season. He sort of said straight away, well, you might as well have a shot, because why not? Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's great. That's just what we need.
Maddie, if you go back to, when was it? To May last year, he beat Brando. He beat Brando over the course and distance on fast ground in a good time. His last 3 runs here have been win, second win. He got beat by Boom the Groom. 5.5 furlongs that was, and he came to win the race and just got re-collared on the line. He should be literally unbeaten at York the last 3 runs, and it's very much a horses for courses track, York, in my opinion, and at least you know what you're going to get. At least you know he's going to run his race.
I love this. I love the big priced angles we're getting this week. They're all going to be absolutely slashed in the market after this. Quick mention now of the Lonsdale Cup, the long distance race on the Friday. We have Dartmouth there, Thomas Hobson, who nearly did the Royal Ascot double, Dow Herald and UAE King, who I quite like. Binners, how do we bet on this quickly?
5-2 Dartmouth, 7-2 Thomas Hobson, 5-1 Dow Herald and St Michel, 11-2 Bar.
Okay, Mark.
Putting the Australian hat from earlier back on again. San Michel is, I believe, under serious consideration for the Melbourne Cup. This was a race that Max Dynamite won and went over and finished second at Flemington in 2015. We're getting to the point now where if horses are going to be going to Australia, only a few weeks away from looking at them going into quarantine in Newmarket. So if Connections are seriously thinking about Flemington, then they would presumably be hoping for a very big run here to sort of confirm that the Melbourne Cup is a realistic target and to go into quarantine with a nice performance under your belt as well. So, yeah, I'd be taking a chance on San Michel.
He's got the class, hasn't he? Was it the Cesarewitch last season where he just travelled like an absolute demon? Yeah. I like that angle. Yeah. Tom, anything for you in this?
Similar angle, different horse, Thomas Hobson. I think he's definitely going to... That's the plan all season has been to get him to Melbourne. I thought he was ridiculously impressive at Ascot. He is the same as Max Dynamite, same owners, same trainer. I don't know who's riding him yet, but I thought he was the type of horse. He's 5-2. I think that's pretty short. The 3-year-old down the bottom's got to be taken really seriously, though. UAE King. I thought he was really good at Ascot. He looked like he might just win a furlong out, and then he won by 5 lengths. You know what I mean? And I just thought he's a really strong stayer that's getting better all the time. We saw Roger Varian's very good with these stayers. We saw Defoe on Saturday. 3-year-olds, they get an awful lot of weight. I'd certainly be considering him. But once again, as you say, this is a really good race. You've got Dartmouth in there. He's only giving £3, and I think the step up and triple suit him. Dal Harald was 6th in that in the race at Ascot, wasn't he? The Hardwick. I think it's a really, really good race. I personally just slightly prefer UAE King down the bottom. But I think, I think if this is as good a staying race as there has been, including the Ascot Gold Cup.
Nice. I'm well chuffed. You agree with me. That UAE King, obviously superbly bred. I don't think they would have been expecting him to run in this Lonsdale Cup, being a Frankel half-brother to Dubawi, but there we are. That's how it works. We'll move on to the Sky Bet City of York Stakes. Quick mention. We've got all sorts in there at the minute, I think. We've got Soudois, Daban, Gifted Master, Second Thought, and the Britannia winner, Bless Him. Binners, I believe you've got some betting on this for us.
Yep, Soudois is 6-1 favourite. Daban 13-2 for John Gosden. 7 Gifted Master, 8 Second Thought, 10 Bless Him and Mitchum Swagger, and a few others on 10 as well.
Okay, what do you reckon, Mark?
I'm going to be a bit annoying here. I really couldn't force myself to have a view on this. The betting sort of reflects that there isn't really.
Tom does it all the time.
I've made a living out of it.
If I was going on, I mean, Gifted Master is a horse I've liked for I've mentioned earlier someone doing a few favours for me, Duke of Frenzy. Gifted Master won with a couple of times, so maybe him, but I really couldn't bring myself to have a strong view on this race, unfortunately. Sorry for that.
So sentimental bet there, maybe if anything from Mark. Tom, anything for you? It looks wide open, doesn't it?
Funnily enough, Maddie, now that Mark's told us that I'm funnily enough have just found one that I think is really good. No, honestly, I had a look at this race before we came on because it was the one race I didn't know much about. And I spent a good few hours looking at it this morning, and I thought David O'Meara had a very good chance, but not with Soudois or whatever it's called, with a horse called So Beloved, who was second in the race last year. If you watch the Lennox Stakes again, and I know everyone listening will go back and watch it now if they can, he was desperately unlucky not to win that race. Bretton Rock won it, and I know it was a funny race, but he was the one who got stuck on the inside, never got going until far too late, and was only beaten a length and a half. I think he'll beat Soudois this time. I think he loves York. He was, as I say, second in the race last time. And the time before at the Curragh, when he was second to Spirit of Valor, it was so slowly running. He was sat out the back. I just think this is his race, and I think he's going to run a massive race. I think Paul, he was 12-14 to 1. Did you say there? I think he's a really good each way bet.
14 to 1. 2-1, Tom.
There we go. Really
There
good
we go.
each-way bet, Sober Love, provided he gets a decent draw.
Okay, fantastic. I'm going to quickly drop in another Twitter Q&A question. I was speaking to Nick Goff last night, Tom, and he says, why don't you join Twitter? I've got a good idea of what you've got to say. Me and Mark are both on Twitter.
Jesus, I get enough abuse as it is without going on Twitter.
Is that it? Is it? Can we persuade you? Get Tom
You
on Twitter.
certainly cannot. I would be the first to beat your head if you put me on Twitter.
Why is it? Do you think mainly just because the abuse you'd get, or social media can be great?
Of course it can. There's loads of good things. There's loads of bad things. It's just not my thing. I quite like sticking clear. I read it from time to time, but I'm pretty happy walking my dog without thinking about what Eric from Scunthorpe thinks of me. Thank you very much.
Right, there you go, Nick. There's your answer on why Tom doesn't join Twitter. Right. I'm going to ask another one, actually. Another quick question. Before we go on to the weekend eye catchers and anything we fancied, do we think Arrogate will ever win a race again? Mark, international guru.
Hardly. No. Yeah, I think he can. Of course he can. I think we fall into this trap of having to be absolutely declarative about, when he was winning, is he as good as Frankel?
He's the best horse in the world.
And now it's like,
yeah.
Can he win a race again? I mean, obviously the previous start, that was a lamentable performance, but the one this weekend was much more of a step in the right direction, and there's no reason, that he couldn't come on from that and step forward going into the Breeders' Cup and win there. No reason that I can see.
And the horse that won, is it called Collected? Am I right? Something like that. I'm not sure, but I think he had a good reputation
at that course as well. Yeah. Good form at the course. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think maybe people are being a bit harsh on Arrogate. Right, Friday tips for York. Sorry, we'll go back to that.
They lean on the Haggis angle again. He won the maiden, which is at 4:45 on Friday this year. He won that with Rivet. He has a horse called Nicklaus in it this year, who did absolutely nothing on debut at Newmarket, finished 6th of 6.
I know who you're talking about.
But was I'm not going to say he smashed off the boards or anything like that, but there was money around for him. He was relatively well supported, and it wasn't the worst. All right, he's finished 6th of the 6th, but it wasn't a terrible performance. There's no reason he couldn't step on from it. And as I say, he put Rivers in this, so he's obviously doing something to impress if he's going with him in it. So that caught my eye.
Like I said, I've heard of him, so I think he must have had a bit of a reputation of some sorts for me to have heard of him. Tom, Friday tips?
I like Sober Loved. I really do. I think he's probably one of the better bets of the meeting.
Okay, nice positive word there. Binners, anything on Friday for you?
In the 155, the first race special handicap, I quite like Eric the Red. I love the way he won at Doncaster over 10 furlongs earlier in the month. I was impressed, and I think he's just as good over this 1.5 miles, Maddie.